This presentation is about invoice templates. As you know, you can create invoices either through a service invoice wizard. It's a form that is customizable in terms of the pricing structure. So you can easily create an invoice and then view it like this in a invoice editor where all the line items are listed as a table. Alternatively, you can use that editor from the very beginning, so you can populate it with custom line items not available in the wizard form. Now, obviously, this is not how your client will look at the invoice. They need to receive some sort of a PDF file that is user-friendly. You can create invoice templates in Tax Workflow to present the invoice in the format, in the layout that is consistent with your design guidelines of your corporate style. This is where you would customize these invoice templates. Invoice Settings lets you create invoice templates using an Excel editor. Now, Tax Workflow has a built-in support for Excel format, so you don't need an Excel subscription to be able to create the invoice template. You can just go ahead and create it right within the Tax Workflow. It has a very similar editor to the Excel, where you have the features such as adjusting the borders, fill color patterns. There are additional features in the main menu here, commenting, inserting different objects, such as pictures like your logos, as well as some advanced formatting for the numbers, conditional formatting. Again, you can find your own way of customizing the layout of the invoice so that it matches your style. You can create multiple invoice templates. Now, an invoice template contains placeholders. You can find the description of the available placeholders in our help here. But for now, we're gonna just take a look at the existing template that is available when you install Tax Workflow. That's a default template, and you can start off customizing it. You can create a copy of this invoice template, and you can create invoice templates that are specifically tailored to one of the offices. You can have a default template that is good for all the offices you may have. You can also create an office-specific invoice template that will always be applied only to the invoices issued from that particular office. Now, I've already created an example here called New Template. That is a little bit simpler representation of the invoice. I took out some of the more detailed placeholders for such things like quantities and prices for each quantity, just limited the invoice to the total amount of each line item. And that's an invoice template that I can use. I can select which invoice template I would like to use for this invoice. And I can use a default template that is selected by default, but also I can change it to be my own new invoice template. And if I hit preview, I will be able to see this invoice template in action, showing me the line items exactly as I formatted it on the invoice template. If I select another invoice template, the look and feel will be different. So this is a different layout of the invoice that I have. Invoice templates are used when you deliver invoices to your clients. There are two ways you can deliver an invoice to your client. You can email it to him or her. There is a special feature here. You can select email as PDF attachment. When you do that, it will create an email message using Invoice Template, and it will generate the PDF based on the default or selected invoice template for that particular invoice. So if I selected that global standard invoice template, that's the invoice we will be looking at, the more detailed one. Alternatively, if I change it to the other template and do the email again, the attached PDF file will be different. So this is a different invoice template that we have created. Tax workflow has also built-in support for the PDF, so we open that PDF right within the tax workflow as well. That's one way of delivering the invoices. The other way of delivering invoices would be through the client portal, and that's discussed in a separate presentation. You can deliver invoices to the client via the client portal and have the client pay that invoice right on the client portal. Again, the client portal is a built-in feature of the tax workflow, and we support different payment gateways that you can use to accept payments via credit cards or electronic transfers, such as Authorize.net or PayPal or iTransact and some other merchant gateway providers. Please note that the invoice templates can be only modified by the administrator. The administrator role is a special role for a user that has permissions to customize templates, including the invoice templates. Regular users will only be able to use these templates but not modify them. So you can just enforce the same standard of invoice templates across the entire company. When you work with an invoice, you can print preview to see how this invoice is going to look like when you deliver it to your client. You can also export that invoice as an Excel spreadsheet. So this is an example of how this invoice can be generated in the Excel spreadsheet file. That could be useful if you want to make a manual change on the invoice that you generated. You don't want to create a PDF. You want to create an Excel spreadsheet, make some cleanups or maybe adjust it manually and deliver it to a client. Now you can deliver the invoice in bulk. You can go in to the View Invoices screen, filter all invoices that are due for a certain client, for example, Sylvia, and we can also filter it to the invoices that have been paid in part or are due in full. You can select these multiple invoices and email them in bulk using a certain email template. So when I use that feature, what will happen is both of these invoices will be attached to the email going out to the client. So you can open up and see those right away. You can also email multiple messages to a client, to multiple clients. If we want to also email some invoices to Jerry as well, we can select him as well. And in that case, there would be two email messages, one containing two invoices to Sylvia and one containing one email message, one invoice to Jerry. So this is an email to Jerry and this is an email to Sylvia. If we click preview, this is how this invoice template is going to look like. Dear Sylvia, and this is going to be Dear Jerry. And this email template can also be customized. So you can not only customize the invoice template, but also customize the invoice email template. That would be, again, in the Office settings. Select the email template for the invoices. You can make some changes in here. You can also create email templates linked to multiple offices. For example, this email will be used for your Chicago office, and this email will be used for your other office, in my case in New York. So depending on where the client is, this client is listed or registered under the Chicago office. So we have the Chicago address, and Jerry has the New York returning address. So the tax workflow will automatically figure out, depending on what office your client belongs, A, what invoice template to use, B, if you're using the email delivery, what email template to use for the delivery of that invoice. And so your clients will receive specific invoices tailored to the office address and logos and business descriptions depending on which office they are listed under. It's very easy to create the versions of templates for various offices. You will just need to use the duplicate email template feature. If we're talking about the email templates, you will select the office for which you want to create a duplicate version attached to that particular office. And the same idea is on the invoice template as well. So you can duplicate this invoice, attach it to the New Jersey office. And so we have two email templates. One is for all offices. There is no attachment to any office. That is why it will be used by any office. But this invoice will be used specifically only for clients that are serviced by your New Jersey office. You can customize and preview the invoice template right within the invoice template editor. For example, you would like to change the colors of the line items, make them bold and red. So we're going to change the color to red, we're going to make it bold, we're going to save it, and then we can see the preview on a real invoice, just to see how it's going to look like on a real thing. So now we have an invoice that, now let me increase the scale. So now we have the red, bold line item text for the sample of the invoice that we selected. So bottom line, tax workflow will help you set up your invoice templates as well as email templates to deliver your invoices to your clients effectively and professionally in bulk. That way you can save a lot of time during tax season to remind your clients about unpaid invoices and generate the invoices based on the client allocation by office. Thank you.